Hello students, this is a summer edition of an art video because we need to prepare sketchbooks for the school year, and upper schoolers and lower schoolers and parents should be watching this video. So for lower school we need spiral bound sketchbooks. The reason that we need spiral bound sketchbooks is so that we can take up less room on the table, and we want to be able to put them back like this and just have the one page showing and be able to have the rest of the table space clear. So I've given upper schoolers a choice this year about whether they want to use a spiral notebook sketchbook or they want to try a hardbound one, but the lower schoolers are required to have a spiral sketchbook for space purposes. Now, this is the problem. So this is my example of one that's already bound, but I'm going to show you these Target ones were really popular this year. I think maybe they were just available, easily available, but they exploded. I had trouble with so many of them, and a family very graciously lent me theirs, but you can see these comb metal bindings just pop apart. So this is supposed to hold the book together, and they just literally come immediately apart and things slide right out, including covers and pages and all kinds of stuff. And this, with many sketchbooks, happened almost immediately. So I thought, well, we're gonna tell families what kind of sketchbooks to get this year, but everybody is binding their sketchbooks this way. So here are my family sketchbooks. They are from an art store. I mean, they weren't super expensive, but they're decent sketchbooks, and they had problems too because they have the same comb binding. So as you can see, this wide loop meets this small loop. So this is what we're gonna do. I want all families who have spiral sketchbooks this year to do this little simple binding that I'm gonna show you how to do. And it's gonna keep these combs together because I just can't find a reliable brand. Hardly anyone is actually making a spiral in their spiral sketchbooks for the binding. So unfortunately, we're having to do this. Okay, here is my sketchbook, and you can see that it's come apart. So I am more than pleased for students to reuse their sketchbook from year to year. But if this has happened to you, you're gonna have to put this back together, okay? So that means you're gonna have to separate these a little bit, and you're gonna have to put the pieces back together. In this kind of case, you can see that these wide sketch binding, the half that's wide is not gonna fit through these holes. So only this narrower portion is even designed to fit through there. And the reason that I have yarn here is because in some of the upper school classes we made bookmarks, and we're going to be able to build in a bookmark if we want to here because we're going to use string or some other kind of material. So if you're having to put things back together, you have to carefully observe what are the size of the holes of your covers and your pages. And in my case, I'm going to have to put these narrower comb portions through the holes and then bind them into the wider portions. The way this one is designed, the actual binding is inside the book. So I actually have to open the notebook in order to get to this intersection, and I can't change it. I can't put it somewhere else. So this is where I'm gonna stitch. I'm going to actually work on this one. So this is my daughter's, and it handled life pretty well last year in the art room. We're not super hard on our sketchbooks. We don't use them every period, but they do go in a big bin, and some of them just cannot weather the storm. So I'm requiring this from all families who have spiral bound sketchbooks, which is the entire lower school and some of the upper school. I have string here. This is just crochet string. You could use something heavier. I have some heavier string that I could use here. Actually, I might use this heavier one. We're gonna use the heavy one. I only have one piece, but. And I also have a yarn needle So what I'm gonna do is thread this through the yarn needle just to make it easier and to make this video go faster. If you don't have a yarn needle, you can just do this by hand, it's totally fine. I'm gonna start at the bottom of the sketchbook, okay? So I have words on here. I know that if I have it facing me, this is the bottom of the sketchbook. And all I'm gonna do is go through one of the small pieces of comb and one of the large square pieces of comb. And then I'm gonna tie a square knot here at the bottom. And a square knot is just a crisscross twice, just like you're tying the beginning of tying your shoes, but you're gonna do it twice. Okay, so this is secure. And then all I'm trying to do is keep these pieces from being able to separate. So I'm gonna go in the small one, out the big one, in the small one, out the big one, and I'm gonna go all the way up. Now I had thought about some other materials. I don't know if ribbon will hold up. I mean, you want something strong that's really gonna not be a problem. And I thought maybe GIMP, like if you remember making lanyards out of GIMP back in like the late 80s and early 90s, if you're my age, that might work really well. Okay, so we're just gonna go all the way up here. Twine would work. You can be as creative as you want. We need strength and durability, but also the ability to go through all of these holes. And I'm trying to do this fast and it wants to twist on me, but so we're just gonna keep going all the way up. So this is simple. The hardest part of this is going to be gathering the materials, use something you already have, and putting the thing back together in order to stitch it. Stitching this together is actually pretty simple. And I got this idea from several YouTubers. I've been thinking all year, how are we gonna do this? Like, is there a way I can make another kind of binding? Could we stitch through the holes and get rid of the comb altogether? But luckily some smart people online have thought of this. Okay, now when we get to the top, I just wanna make a square knot again. You can make a fancier kind of knot. I know some of you are capable of that and maybe have a better idea. If you have a better idea, let me know. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this as a square knot and then I'm gonna leave all this string because this can be a bookmark in my book, which can be useful sometimes because we often need to turn to the page that we were last using or that has our most recent sketch in it or anything like that. This does not, yeah, I mean, I'd rather just have an actual spiral, but that seems to be impossible. So this will pretty much allow me to use the sketchbook entirely the way it was designed because this stitching is staying right here nested in here. If you have some sketchbooks, have it on the outside, so you would just end up with a stitch right here. Mine won't even let me work like that. So, okay, everybody needs to do this before school. And you can bring your sketchbook to me and I'm very excited to see how you all like modify this or think of clever things to do, and maybe next year we'll need to make a fresh video that reflects all the wonderful ideas I'm sure you'll come up with. Thank you parents for your cooperation. This is hopefully going to protect your investment of a sketchbook. We should be able to use sketchbooks for multiple years, especially in the lower school. So this will save you money in the long term and help you to have a nicer sketchbook of a recording of your child's progress in drawing over the course of hopefully several school years. Thank you for participating. Please let me know if there's questions, and I look forward to seeing you guys when school starts.